Welcome to 1111, which is a segment from my podcast where I talk about a topic for 11 minutes and 11 seconds. Today's topic is perfectionism and how to let go of perfectionism. I'm so sorry. So busy. So sorry. I've actually never been a perfectionist. I've had friends who have been. So, from one non perfectionist to a perfectionist, I'm here to remind you that it's never that serious and that more than likely, you're perfect, your best. No, more than likely, your worst is someone else's best and perfect. So, you really do not have to stress out over. I think, okay, so here's the thing, like, I've never understood perfectionism because I don't believe in anything being perfect. Um, just because nothing is perfect, if that makes sense. So I've always had this like I don't know if it's because sorry. I don't know if it's because I like was raised religious and my parents' religion basically would, always remind you that you're not perfect. And I think I have that in the back of my head of like I'm not perfect, nothing is perfect, which is true. Like I don't believe most of that religion, but nothing ever being perfect is true. So I'm like, well, okay, hold that thought. But I'm also like, nothing is perfect, so I can't create perfection. And it really just allows me to like not think about leaving things perfect. Obviously, if you want to do a good job and make it look good, that's one thing, but I personally feel like you we honestly can just do what we our best and allow, if it doesn't look good, it doesn't, kind of accept it. But anyways, like the perfection side, I'm kind of like in a little bit of a inner debate with myself because I feel like perfection, our body works to a T. Like our body, the way whatever created our body, you know, Big Bang, God, whatever, whoever or whatever or you know whatever created our body, it like has the most like perfect system and like a very like okay, so I have older parents, so my parents are usually either sick or whatever, especially right now in this time, of their age, and their bodies have like the way that the hospital and like the doctors and nurses and everybody kind of explains the body and how everything is flowing. It's like wow, like everything has a purpose, and I feel like that's perfect. I feel like our bodies are like insides of our bodies is perfect if that makes any sort of sense. So although our outer parts aren't perfect, I feel like our insides are perfect. Like the system that everything, kind of flows by is perfect. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm sorry. But this is about letting go of perfection. I feel like reminders, like remind yourself, like I'm not perfect. No one is perfect. Nothing is perfect, except our bodies, insides of our bodies. Um, or not necessarily the insides of the body, but like how everything is kind of like how everything works is perfect. Anyways, kind of like remind yourself like nothing is perfect, so I cannot create perfection. And I think that's like one of the biggest reminders that I love because it's true, you know. I also feel like we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves. I feel like sometimes we we just love to torture ourselves, and I don't think that's nice. I feel like beating yourself up if you don't have like a perfect grade or if you don't have a perfect project or whatever it is. I'm like I think that's so useless and so pointless because you're honestly just damaging yourself and you're honestly just damaging your brain acting like we've been here before and we know what we're doing and we're supposed to like create perfection. It's like you have to remind yourself that this is the first time we're ever here and we all have different situations and nothing is ever easy and nothing is ever like simple and just a walk on the beach. Like there's issues and like a lot of adapting and a lot of like learning new things and all of those things. It's like our bodies and our brains can only do so much to like have perfection. So it's like we cannot have that expectation of ourselves that whatever we do has to be perfect because in our reality, nothing is perfect, and nothing ever will be perfect. We kind of just really just try your best, and whatever happens is a learning lesson. If it's good, if it's bad, if it's, whatever it is, because you're honestly just beating a dead horse. Because if you try to work for perfection, you can only get so far, and then you're gonna get burnt out, and it's just gonna be like a whole cycle. I know it's probably not easy, if you are a perfectionist, just because I feel like some parents can be so toxic and expecting so much from their kids, so then they grow up and just, either try not to disappoint, or or just, yeah, try not to disappoint. So you try to have, do everything perfect. And I think that's one good thing that my parents did for me, was not requiring perfection from me. And again, I think it's because of the religion, of the Bible or whatever, which I hate to admit, but it was something good. And I think it created like a really good spot for me, especially since like I'm not going to college. I feel like, a quote unquote perfect, first generation kid goes to college because he has the opportunity. Um, but I don't. And I didn't. I chose not to. And it, like, my parents never really, like, they were just like, okay. Like I said before, though, I feel like their expectation is so low for me. Um, I think that's nice though, and I also have like a very low expectation of myself. Not necessarily in a bad way. I just feel like, like, you don't you don't have to expect perfection. Like, we're this is the first time we're ever here in this life. Like, granted, um, uh, reincarnation is a thing, but, well, to a point. I feel like, I'm like I'm like very agnostic on a lot of things, and I genuinely do feel like um reincarnation can be real, just because I feel like this is my last life, so I wouldn't want to spend it like striving for perfection, because I think I know perfection is never achievable, and you're only, burning yourself out, and creating a really bad, negative, and just really upsetting life, because you're reaching towards something that's unachievable. So you're just going to, one, not even enjoy the moment. Two, you're really not even going to learn anything, because you're going to be so hyper fixated on trying to do it perfectly, that you know whatever lesson is just going to fly by your head. So I personally feel like, anything, like, anything worth doing, even if it's like, doing it really, really badly, like, I feel like anything is worth doing badly. Like, trying everything, learning everything, just learning by your mistakes. Because if you have this mindset of like, I have to do this perfectly, you're gonna miss the whole plot. You're gonna miss the whole, lesson of being human and learning. Um, and I feel like that's a really important thing to like kind of like go by. I think just for me also, I I've never been hard on myself for that. I've always been like, okay, I I've I used to be like, I'm gonna get the perfect body. Um and obviously, you know, that's not a thing. That's not real, because that's really just subjective. A perfect body is so subjective, and it's very unachievable, and it's very, like, standards, body standards, beauty standards. So I've been kind of like viewing things as like my standard, like Manny Rico's standard, and it's usually not perfect. It's usually very messy. It's usually with a lot of journaling and a lot of working out. Um, and it's just a lot of learning and messing up and mistakes, and going back at it, and maybe messing up again, and then going back at it, and then learning your lesson, and then doing better because you know better. And I think that's really just all life is. I don't think life is meant to be perfect, because nothing is perfect. The leaves on the trees aren't perfect. The clouds in the sky aren't perfect. The way the weather is isn't perfect. Like, nothing is perfect. Absolutely nothing. And I think the earth is that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be perfectly unperfect. and just beautiful, and like just accepting the fact that it's beautiful. Like no sunset, every sunset it's perfect, but no sunset looks exactly the same, if you know what I mean. Like there's, I feel like with perfection there's a standard, but when you realize that everything is imperfect, unperfect, unperfect. I've said that word so many times, it sounds fake now. But once you realize that nothing's perfect, you realize that like there's beauty in messy, there's beauty in messing up, and there's beauty in, you know, not and nothing being perfect. But yeah, that was just like a little reminder that I wanted to let you know of. Just because I don't want you to be so hard on yourself. You have to love yourself and be kind to yourself, and realize that like we're just humans, and we're only doing the best that we know, and once we know, we do better. Just be kind to yourself. Don't pressure yourself or like beat yourself up if you don't reach perfection, because it's unattainable. It's not real. The world is imperfect. Everybody, we're all imperfect. Nothing, perfection is not attainable. Okay, just enjoy the moment, and be safe. I love you. Bye.